the News Channel 5 network. This is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine on this Tuesday. Nick Barris here. It's good to have you with us. We've got a good show on tap for you. We're going to open up the phone lines, invite you to join in the conversation. We're going to talk about the city of Nashville and a lot of the key issues that are going on right now with someone that can really get to the heart of answering some of your questions for you. I want to remind you, by the way, when we do the program today, we're not only here on the Plus, and we'll get the number up there in just a moment, but we're also going to be streaming, as we are right now, live on Facebook at newschannel5.com, and I'll be monitoring that right here on set. So if you have any questions or comments as you follow us online, be glad to have you join us. So follow there as well. And to talk about many of the things happening in this great city and to take your questions, we have Metro's Vice Mayor Jim Shulman.
Hey.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, it's been, what, 48 hours?
48 hours. You know, we both were in attendance at the annual Soup Sunday for Our Kids fundraiser. Isn't that a fun event?
It's a great event.
Just
great.
Awesome.
Good cause, good food,
yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I managed to get through the whole thing.
46 of the restaurants in town set up soup stations, and it's a fundraiser that sells out every year for Our Kids, which does amazing work to help children of sex abuse cases. And it's over there in Nissan Stadium, the club level, where you sit. I'm up in the nosebleeds.
I understand.
Okay, but anyway, it was a neat event. It was fun seeing you. You've gone every year to support that cause. I think that's great.
It's a really good cause.
Well, listen, I'm glad you came on today.
Sure.
And we don't have necessarily a specific topic, though I have a lot in mind. The number on the screen, 737-7587. And again, we're going to be streaming live as well on Facebook at newschannel5.com. Ask the Vice Mayor. And when you sat down, I mean, there's several things that we can touch on. I just thought one thing that a lot of people are talking about, just to get going on this, that's happening today, the 11 members of the Community Oversight Board, I guess, are meeting this afternoon just to talk about various agenda items. Now, this is all happening against the backdrop of what's happening at the legislature. And I want your take on how significant it is, if indeed that step they're taking there among lawmakers to maybe limit the powers of the Oversight Board at the local level, take away their subpoena powers. It's already passed the legislative subcommittee, is in judiciary now. There's a lot of steps to go. But what do you think, if they lose that type of power, which is the ability to subpoena and have someone come and talk to them about an issue, does that gut some of what they're going to be able to do, or is it not that big an issue?
Well, I think the amendment language that we passed, that the city passed, talks about the ability to compel. So I assume they're still working that out with whatever the state legislature is working on, and that the board is going to have to deal with. I think in the end, what I would like to see is, obviously the city passed this, 59%. We have just started. Council did its job, selected an 11-member board. It's a good board. I'd like to give them a chance to get started. Right. I mean, they've only had, this will be their second meeting today.
It's just so early in the game.
Yeah, so love for them to get started and see what they can do. You know, I've told lots of people when I campaigned last year, I spent a lot of time all over the city. And there was a feeling of unrest in many places about what was going on in the city, particularly after the 2 shootings last year. And I think that's one of the reasons why it passed with 59% of the vote. So let's get this thing started, and let's see what it can do, and let's see if it can bring some healing.
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Is it fair that they're already moving at the state level? And I guess it's the session, it's the time for them to do it. But we don't even know how the subpoena powers are going to work, or how this board is going to play out, and there's already talk of maybe taking away some of what they need to do their job.
Well, so they haven't started doing their job yet, so we don't know.
So but I'm saying we're not even giving them a chance to do it, to see if there's going to be an issue here, or that they shouldn't have that power.
Well, we know this is a tough issue. There was, you know, when it was on the ballot, a lot of people on both sides. But we're not the first city to do this. You know, Knoxville has one, Memphis has one, other cities have one across the country. So I think the idea is, let's take the best of all the cities around the country. Let's figure out what works, and let's do this right. This is not an anti-police measure. It's more of an accountability measure. I think people felt like this was something that was needed. Most cities struggle through something like this when they pass a community oversight board. But I'd like for this to get started. Let's see if we can bring some analysis to the situation, and some understanding, and maybe overall some healing to the city. but I'd like for them to get started.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying about it being not an anti-police measure, having this board. Thing is, there are some, though, and I don't know, maybe in law enforcement that feel that it is. It's just going to be more scrutiny that makes it more difficult for them to do their job. And of course, we don't know because you're right, they haven't had a chance yet. But you saw the chief, talking about morale and trying to support your officers. He sent out a tweet last week, I think, and then we've done stories here at News Channel 5 just about what the level of morale is and the issues that they may be having, even attracting or keeping good officers. I mean, you see those stories, and I think for most people, the most important thing in their lives, I think, is the security for them and their family, number one.
Right.
And when you see stories like this, and Metro Nashville may be having trouble attracting or keeping good officers, I don't know if that's part of the big picture here.
Well, I think it is part of the big picture. But we were also talking before about the budget, and
well, part of it's pay too, right?
Yeah. Well, part of it's pay. So, I mean, I think the idea is, how do we figure out we bring all these issues together.
Right.
So if it's pay, if it's kind of community understanding with, citizens, if it's dealing with the Community Oversight Board, the police are very, very important to the city. The firefighters. I mean, we have lots of employees that are very important to the overall workings of Metro government. Community Oversight Board, I don't determine it to be anti-police. I know some people might think that. I don't see it that way. It's an accountability. It's, it's having some group being kind of just overwatching the police, not to determine every move they make, but just some accountability to the whole thing. But in the end, I think you're right. Police are very, very important to us, and we've got to deal with this morale question. And part of it, I think, does have to do with the fact that we need to get their pay up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about money. By the way, I think we're trying to get the sound up in a moment here. They say that they don't have the sound on the Facebook page, but I think they're trying to get that set right now. We're aware of it and try to get that fixed if you're watching us streaming. All right, wanted to talk about then the money and the issues at stake here for pay and all of that. This is coming against the backdrop, and you were telling me this when you first sat down. I asked them, what are some of the things we should hit on? And the incentive grants, all right? And, a lot of people talking about, look, Amazon doesn't need it, all right? Let's face it, Amazon, but you know what? They're going to take what they can get, and a lot of communities want them. We saw what happened up in New York. They had this big incentive deal, and then all of a sudden people were upset. Amazon just pulled out. Now, we're lucky that we have Amazon here, but we've got an incentive package that doesn't really kick in for them for a couple of years. But talk a little bit about that and other incentive packages and how it plays when you're looking at folks who aren't getting paid. Teachers and Metro workers aren't getting raises.
Yeah, so it's really difficult right now. So we went through a very, what I would say, a difficult budget season last year, where after a proposal made the year before, where we had basically pledged to increase employee salaries by 3%. It was a 3-year plan under then Megan Berry. It was 2%, 3%, 3%. We didn't have the money last year, so we couldn't do it. And there's always a need for money in education. We just know that. So we did a little bit for education. Didn't have the money to take care of the employee raises, the cost of living raises. And so here we are getting ready to go into another budget season, and we've got economic incentives coming through. Very important for the city. I mean, who doesn't want Amazon? I know New York chose not to, but there was a lot of internal fighting up in New York in terms of, do we want to give this money? Is this something we can handle? Whatever. But whenever you can bring 5,000 jobs, that's something a city should obviously seriously consider.
Where do you, as you look at incentives being offered, draw the line? I agree. You have to attract it. It's not like Amazon needs this. They're a very successful company, but they're going to take what they can get to go. Now, I've had friends of mine. Former mayor of Portland was a friend of mine, and he told me, and this was several years back, he said they were in the running trying to pitch to get a company to come there. And one of the cities they were up against was Nashville. And they put their pitch together. And then when they saw what Nashville was pitching, they said, oh my gosh, we can't even come close to what they're giving away there. And they just backed off and kind of shook their heads like, Nashville's giving away the home to get this, He was stunned at how much this city and sometimes the state in the whole gives to attract. Now, I guess it means different things to different communities, but where do you draw the line? Sure, we want 5,000 jobs, but how much is it worth giving them if it's also going to take off the table raises and some of the important money for other things?
Well, and that's the case. Well, I don't know if you can actually just draw it.
Okay.
You're always trying to figure out where it is. Well, I think you're seeing it right now. That line has not been drawn yet. But I think the council, just kind of talking to people, I think the council is struggling with this in the sense of responsibility to its employees, responsibility to the pledge they made 2 years ago to get pay raises in, obviously an overall commitment to public safety and education. I mean, those are the keys. Yeah. People call them the priorities of the city. But economic development is a priority as well. So you're trying to balance all this stuff. So you take us where we are right now, and that is we couldn't fulfill the pledge last year with the employees, and now these economic incentive grants come in. Where is the line? So in terms of Amazon, when you look at the overall picture for the city, it's $15 million around that. It's not, we're not talking about $1 billion. Right. The state's kicking in a lot of money. The city's share of that is a job tax credit. But it's $15 million. And I think people look at it and go, wait a minute, we can't take care of our schools or our employees. Why are we giving a big, giant company money?
But then the idea is going to be, though, when they do finally come, what we get back from that will be worth more than the $15 million.
Sure.
What are 5,000 jobs worth?
You get 5,000 jobs.
Good-paying jobs.
Good-paying jobs, the property taxes, all the stuff that it brings to the city. So you're constantly trying to balance this thing. I don't think we would be talking about it as much if the budget, for a booming city, we were in good shape financially. And we're not, we're balancing our budget, we're doing all that. We just couldn't take care of some things last year that are really weighing, I believe, on the council.
It's just crazy. We'll take a break, but I mean, if Nashville, which is growing and there's constant building and is still considered the it city and is really a wonderful place to live, is having trouble, what do other cities do that aren't even close to the level of growth in what we're doing? I mean, it's just odd that a city like this is having these financial issues, but it can happen anywhere. Look, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get to your calls. If you're on hold, stay there, and I will check Facebook for any of your comments there with the Vice Mayor. Looking very dapper this morning with the tie.
Thank you.